Well, hey everybody, long time no see. Looks like we're going to be doing some at-home art today. So, just so you know, when you're doing at-home art, you don't have to worry if you don't have crayons or markers or paint at your house. I understand, I've been there. This video is all about how to use the stuff that you probably already have to turn it into paint and painting tools. Let's get our creative sparks a-flying for this time of at-home learning by gathering items from around the house and using them to create a painting, or many paintings like I did. Your painting or paintings should somehow show how you're feeling inside right now, or how you've been feeling lately, being stuck at home with all this virus business going on. And also the painting should let you experiment or try a bunch of different tools and materials that you're able to find around the house. This project reminds me a lot of the painter named Jackson Pollock, because Jackson Pollock liked to paint his feelings by flinging some paint onto a canvas. He only used colors, lines, and shapes. His art was abstract because it wasn't supposed to look like anything. It just had lines, colors, and shapes. That's it. The first thing you're gonna need for your painting is paper of some kind. The best paper to use would be plain white paper, but you could also use notebook paper, construction paper, the back of a used piece of paper, or you could even use a newspaper to paint on, or even a paper plate. The possibilities are endless, but find yourself a piece of paper and let's use markers to make some paint. If you're like me, then you have a junk drawer somewhere in your house or apartment. And in that junk drawer, you might have some dried out old markers. Well, those markers don't have to go to waste, even though they seem to be dried out. Markers can actually be soaked to get the rest of that ink out. There are two ways you can get the ink out of markers, and that's with water or with rubbing alcohol. The way that you tell which one to use is by the brand of the marker. Crayola, Mr. Sketch, and any highlighter is going to be water soluble. So you'll soak those in water. Any permanent marker like this one or any Sharpie brand marker is a permanent marker. So those need to be soaked in rubbing alcohol. Water just won't cut it. So take the markers that you found in your junk drawer and split them into Crayola, Mr. Sketch, and highlighters, and Sharpies and permanent markers on the other side. Okay, so I have all my water-soluble markers here. The Crayolas, the Mr. Sketch, and the highlighters. And I'm gonna split up these markers even more into the 3 color families. The 3 color families are the warm colors, the cool colors, and the neutral colors. Now that I have all the markers sorted into the 3 color families, that will make sure that when the inks mix together in the water, it's gonna make a beautiful bright color and not a muddy dark color. So the next thing I'm going to do is take off all the caps of these markers and put them with the tips down in the 3 different cups. Lastly, I just add a little bit of water to each cup and let them sit overnight. For any Sharpies and permanent markers that you find in your junk drawer that are all dried out, you are going to separate them the exact same way into the 3 color families, but they need to be soaked in rubbing alcohol this time, not water, and leave them overnight. Another way to make homemade paint is with flour, water, and food coloring. You will need different containers for each color of paint that you want to make. And it's best if the containers have lids so that you can save the paint in the refrigerator to use the leftovers later. To make this thicker type of paint, put a little bit of flour into each container. Then pour some water into each container and mix together. If you find that the paint is too thick and goopy, add more water to make it thinner. If your mixture is too watery and you don't like it, add a little bit more flour. When the paint is just how you like it, it's time to add the pigment. Pigment is just a fancy word for color. Add about 4 drops of one color into each container and mix together all the way. And there you have it, homemade paint. Bam! Don't worry, if you couldn't find any of that other stuff around your house, you might be able to find some coffee or some tea in a tea bag to create some earth-colored paints. All you need are some coffee grounds or a tea bag and some warm water. Let it sit overnight to get as colorful as it can, and there you go, another way to make homemade paint. Another way to make paint is to mix colorful spices from the pantry with some water. Some good colorful spices to use are cinnamon, ginger, and turmeric. Bonus, the spices smell amazing. So just pour a little teeny bit of the spice into a container, add some water, mix it up nicely, and there you have it. Even more paint made from scratch. Man, making my own paint out of found and gathered materials made me think of how our ancient ancestors used to paint the walls of caves. And they would make their own paint by mashing up berries and mixing dirt and soil with water to create different colors. Some of the most famous ancient cave paintings were found in France and are called the Caves of Lascaux. In that cave, they found amazing paintings of animals and people and stories that survived thousands of years until it was finally rediscovered again by a young boy and his dog named Robot. Now we've got the paint, we need to explore some household items that you can use instead of a paintbrush to get that paint onto the paper. Here are some ideas. A spatula, a plastic cup, a cardboard tube cut around the edge, a straw, pasta noodles, a fork, pencil erasers, a can, cookie cutters, corks, any type of cap, cotton balls, Q-tips, or a sponge. You don't even need a big sponge, just cut a piece off of a bigger sponge and that'll work. Okay, so now I have my paper, my homemade paint, and a bunch of crazy tools to paint with. It's time to make a painting that shows our feelings right now, or how we've been feeling lately. Have you been feeling worried, excited, bored, creative, energetic? Take that feeling inside and experiment with all your materials to create one or lots of paintings that show exactly how you feel right now. You can paint something that looks like something, like the cave painters. Or you can be like Jackson Pollock and just use lines, shapes, and colors. Again, if you have the regular tools needed for painting, like a paintbrush and some paint, regular paint, go ahead and use those. I do have a regular paintbrush at my house, so I decided to use it with my liquidy paint, the paint that I made with the markers and the spices. I absolutely love the beautiful colors that I got from the markers and the spices, especially the spices because they smell so good. To use your flower paint, if you made any, you might want to pour a small pile of each color paint onto a paper plate so that all of the tools you gathered can easily dunk into the paint. Those little containers, they're kind of hard to fit some of the tools in. I experimented with every single tool that I found around the house to create many different paintings that show how I'm feeling right now. Watch and learn how to use each tool. I would absolutely love it if you would snap a picture of your tools and homemade paint or some pictures of your paintings and then email them to me. My email address is on the school website. I would just absolutely love that, you guys. When I raided my junk drawer and pantry to make some old school caveman paint and tools, I had so much fun and I loved the results. But even if my paintings didn't turn out great, just looking for those fun tools and materials around the house and trying to use them to create a picture was a blast. So really, who cares what it even looks like in the end? Thank you so much for joining me on our very first at-home art adventure. Make sure you stay tuned for the next one. Miss you and love you all so much. I really hope I get to see you soon. But in the meantime, I'll see you next time right here for our next at-home art adventure. See you later.